Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We are on the 18th part, and the verse of Surah Mu'minun that describes the fetal development within the womb of the mother, and the way in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala depicts it in these verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that indeed we have created man from an extract of clay, and then we made it into a drop of semen within a firm enclosure. Then he talks about the physical stages of the development of a fetus until it comes to this part, and then the meat is then turned into bones, and then the bones are fashioned with flesh. Now at this point there is a pause in the whole of the fetal development, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then takes pride here at this point. He does not exclaim with pride. Prior to this, he's talking about the physical stages of the growth of a fetus. And here at this point, when the bones are fashioned with flesh, Allah says, وَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. Allah is the best of the creator, but something happens before that, and that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this wonderful claim. Because after the bones have been fashioned with covered with flesh, Allah says, ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ. And then we cause it to be raised in another existence altogether. And blessed is the name of Allah, the best of creators. So what happens here is that after a certain stage of physical completion, the fetus becomes a potential human being through the emergence of the Spirit of God. And that emergence of the Spirit of God brings about the potential of awareness. So this is the first time that the human being comes into existence from a physical fetus. And Allah says, ثُمَّ أَنْتُمْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ مَيِّتُونَ. And after this you will die. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first of all talks about the fetus as it, as a non-intelligent entity. And after this stage, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the fetus as you. You will be in a state of death after that, to show that death and life are two transitory stages and states that come upon the human soul. So basically at this point, when the spirit emerges within the fetus and it procures the spirit from the world of God after becoming ripened existentially, then there is the potential awareness. But that potential awareness is dormant. And that's why in Quran there is a high level of consistency that death comes before life and death comes post and after life. So the first death is just the potentiality of awareness. The second death is the potentiality of the life, and after potentiality in terms of whatever we have earned through life. So basically the first death is for us to awaken into this world, and the second death is for us to awaken into the next world. In Surah Mu'minun as well is the story of Nabi Nuh making the ark. Now of course this story has been mentioned in many places, but the interesting part here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we look at the hadith literature that accompanied the verses of the Quran, asks Nabi Nuh to plant trees, to water them, and when they are complete trees, Allah asks him to cut the trees and to construct an ark. Now this story of the great floods of Nabi Nuh is not particular to the Abrahamic faiths. It's there within the Chinese literature, the Hindu literature, and the literature of the civilizations that have gone before as well, the great deluge and other stories. The interesting part here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, take two of each species with you. And Nabi Nuh has been made as a means to give salvation and be a means of rescue for these species of God. Now, why does God decide to do things in this way? He can miraculously send wood and create a ship or an ark, and He can give safety to those creatures. But no, everything in this world happens by the property of this world. And that is why we have this story that Moses became sick, and when the physicians went to him, Moses said, no, I will trust in Allah. As a result, Allah made him worse in his ailment until he cried out, and Allah said, look, I'm not going to falter with the system that I've created just because of you. If you want cure, then eat the medicine that the physicians are giving you. This is a lesson that in this world things happen very naturally and we are living by those natural laws of this world. And that's why we can't expect miracles and things to happen, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hesitates to do that within the Quran. Now, according to the other version of the floods, it appears as if the great caps of ice melted and caused the great floods. And as they were coming, Nabi Nuh was told, okay, prepare yourself and the creatures around you and prepare an ark and aboard the ark and go in that ark and I will guide you to another place. So there is a natural cause of events, and at the same time we are seeing the story of the destruction of great many people who are not good souls. And Nabi Nuh prays in some place that Allah destroy them all. So there are different and several different interpretations of the floods of Nabi Nuh in different literatures, and it's interesting to see how they all converge. In any case, Nabi Nuh makes this prayer, and we are also told to make this prayer. وَقُلْ, and Nabi Nuh is being told by Allah, and say, Rabbi anzilni munzilan mubarakan. When he was on the ark, he was told to make this prayer, O my Lord, cause me to descend upon a blessed place. وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْمُنزِلِينَ, and you are the best one to cause people to descend upon the most blessed places. And we are told to make this prayer as we travel and embark on our travels. After this is Surah Nur. And in Surah Nur, the very second verse is saying that the female and the male adulterers lashed them 100 times. Now the amazing thing is that the Quran does not have the death penalty or the stoning to death anywhere. My only intention here is to say that as the human nobility got refined and increased, as the Quran says, He has ennobled the children of Adam. As this sense of dignity grows and evolves, God's chastisements have been lessened within the scriptures that have followed one after another, to the extent that the Quran altogether does not have the death penalty or execution for crimes apart from the enemies of God who kill others. Now here, the Muslims ought to be very, very proud that their Quran is in line, 1400 years ago, was in line with the sense of human dignity and was promoting human dignity. And if this was the case 1400 years ago, then imagine how far the Muslim ought to have been by now. Then of course the famous set of verses come in Surah An-Nur, through which the surah gets its name, the verse of light. Allah says, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Imagine, light is that makes apparent all that is hidden. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I am the one who makes the heavens and the earth hidden. If it wasn't for me, there would be no heavens, there would be no earth. It is the most beautiful verse ever, that wherever you look, you see the light of God. It is a failure on part of the souls that they begin to hate the world, they resent the world. If only they could see it as the light of God and find a deeper meaning. Allah is saying, the example of His light is like a niche. In there is a lamp. The lamp is within a glass. And within the glass, the light appears as a radiant star. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to us that as the light comes out, we begin to see everything. But the light in itself, if it can be observed within itself, it is the most beautiful thing ever. The most radiant, glittering star. However, he goes further and he says that the star is fueled by the oil of an olive that comes from a blessed tree, which is neither easternly nor westernly, to say that it has no imperfections, it has no denomination, it has no belonging, it is one that is everywhere. And this oil is ready to burn and shine, even though the fire may touch it not. What it means to say is that actually the heavens and the earth, before they are lit, they are nothing but the beauty of Allah. And they are about to show themselves at all times, even if fire does not touch them. They are about to come into view. Everything wants to show itself so beautifully. However, there is a restraining force that the fire touches it and allows it to show itself in the most beautiful manner, but in a measured way. But had it not been for Allah letting the fire control the luminosity of the oil itself would have just shown itself so brilliantly. However, had that been the case, then it would have been so brilliant that nothing of it would have been observed by limited eyes. As opposed to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and as for those who disbelieve, their deeds are like a mirage that appear like water within a desert, that people run to retrieve, and when they come to it, it is nothing but a mirage, and there they find Allah, and Allah gives them their accounts in full. And that actually makes sense, that if we look at people who do not have this grounding and this sense of existence within themselves, a proper grounding with Allah and who I am, they are living a very superficial and arbitrary life, and that includes the majority of us and the Muslims, because it's not grounded through Allah. The soul is not growing, the soul is not maturing. It is not recognizing that the fear of death, the fear of poverty, sickness are arbitrary things, and that we should be growing through this anxiety and overcoming these fears and becoming far more confident through Allah. Anyway, Allah explains the psychological state of somebody in this state. He says, or like darkness within the seas, deep seas, in which there are waves, momentous waves, overpowering the ship, and they are so dark that nothing can be seen, and above them are layers of cloud, darkness upon darkness. When a person stretches out his hand, he is unable to see it. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing here is that those people who do not find the light of God from within themselves, this is the state of their darkness from within. They make a world, but that world is a precarious world. It has no direction. Why? Because even if we get the empire of this world and all its wealth and all its power, within ourselves we are still insecure. We are afraid of death. We are afraid of sickness. We are afraid of poverty. And that is the meaning of darkness upon darkness upon darkness, that we have no grounding and no place. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi tayyibin at-tahirin.